Hey guys, it's Oluchi for Ways Breakfast. Thanks for always tuning in. Our research has shown that you're probably not subscribed to our channel. What are you waiting for? Make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you never miss out on our latest content and stay in the loop with all things Ways. If the channel grows, it means more great content for you guys. So hit that subscribe button now.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Usayoma Sale, and tonight, Messi Igbokbo and I.
Oh, I can't forgive you for this. Why? Honestly, I thought she was joking about this. Really? You mother.
Well, you should know me by now. Anything I do off camera, I will do it on camera.
You are not to be trusted.
Don't trust me. How are you?
Very well, thank
How's
you.
your weekend? We missed you last week.
I know.
And you now came back looking very yummy and sumptuous. I like the hairdo. How
Thank
are
you. Very well, thank
Hope
you.
you feel better.
Yes, I feel better. I was just a little bit under the weather. You know how we can be.
Yes,
But I mean, we have to pay close attention to our health because I know that the health awareness in our culture is totally very poor. And for some of us, we literally brag when we don't go to the hospital, and that's not a bragging thing, right? You should check the hospital, check your doctors as much as you can to be sure that you're all right.
Absolutely. All right. So, I mean, I had a fantastic weekend, hopefully. I'm just looking forward to the week. It's going to be a long week. I think this is the only show I'm going to appear on this week because I have work to do. So
yeah, I can imagine.
I'm going to be happy. I'm happy to be missed. You guys will be all right without me.
Well, it's the same with it. So I see you next week eventually.
Yeah, by the grace of God. All right. So, all right, tonight we're going to be having a conversation around civil servants, right? And we have an amazing guest that is going to be joining us much later. Also, would come back when we come back from this break. We'll bring up Enough is Enough, and we'll also bring up what we found in today's news. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. International Day to Protect Education from Attack. It's observed on September, is it today? And it aims to highlight and address the threats and violence that affects educational institutions. September 9th, yes. So students and educators in conflict zones. This day also seeks to promote efforts to safeguard education as a fundamental right and to ensure that learning environments remain safe and secure. The observance helps to bring global attention to the importance of protecting education from attacks and supporting those affected by such violence. Call to action on this day is to implement policies and laws to protect educational institutions and students from attack, provide support and resources to countries affected by attacks on education, raise awareness and advocate for action and provide assistance to affected communities, support educational initiatives, and of course, speak against attacks on education. By working together, we can ensure that every child and adult has the opportunity to access quality education without fear. I think this is a very, very important day.
Yeah, it's very significant, this day, and that's very saddening as well because when we look at, the report from UNICEF, we look at the data and it talks about the children that are out of school. 18.3 million children are out of school, despite the fact that, primary education is compulsory and it's free. So it's really, really sad. And I just wish that, conversation, because if you listen to the news today and if you go on social media, I don't know the level of awareness, if we're really engaging, we're talking about this. And it's really, really sad. It calls for a lot of questioning, especially, like I said, if you move on the streets of Lagos and other parts of the country, you find out that a lot of children, those kids who are not even in war-torn zones. Well, now, we're not just talking about, the northern part of Nigeria or other conflict zones. We're talking about just Lagos State. You find a lot of kids who are on the street. They are hawking, and some of them are just, literally street kids. And it just speaks. It's a very sad situation. But today, it's a call to everyone. It's a call to all stakeholders. All hands must be on deck, and to see how these kids are back in school.
Absolutely. So, this day just reminds me of a lot of times where our education got disrupted when we were growing up in Kaduna State, and we couldn't go to school because there were crises. And just brings to mind all the people that have been kidnapped from classrooms. So there's a trauma that's associated with education. It's almost like they say Boko Haram. No, so let me not take that.
That's okay.
When they say that education is a taboo, that's what they call it. So it means that if you go to school, that's a taboo. So, or in its own, the name in itself, you run away from things like that. So you now see a lot of people avoiding, going to school just because of some of these things. But hey, I am happy that we are talking about it. So
yes,
that's all that matters. All right. So what did you find for us in the news today?
Well, so today, straight up on the Punch newspaper, if you look at the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning, you go to the bottom side, just to your left. Yeah. Okay, to my left, you find the story that talks about between 2020 and 2024, at least 1,008 soldiers have resigned from the Nigerian army. This is according to verified reports. The statistics include 196 soldiers who resigned in August 2024 and 261 in 2022. Now, many of the soldiers who actually resigned did not reach the mandatory retirement age or complete their service years. The resignations were actually approved by the Nigerian army, with some soldiers leaving due to poor personnel or medical reasons, inadequate welfare. So, the story is almost endless. For the want of time, we'll just leave it at that. But when I saw this story, when I saw the headline, it literally broke my heart, because I know that we have a brain drain in the medical sector, in the health sector. We have a lot of doctors who are, leaving the country. We have nurses who are also leaving. The brain drain has also shifted from the health sector to the educational sector. And the military sector, you want to talk about, of course, the military sector, if there's anything like that. But we're talking about our military personnel, our security agents.
What do you expect them to do, Mercy?
No, I'm not saying I expect them to do
anything. It's the same reason doctors, I believe, are resigning and leaving.
That's where I'm going. Yeah. I'm saying that. So gradually, we're just having the brain drain just creeping in. And to the details of that report, we found out that some of them were leaving to join the military architecture or forces of other countries. Yeah, like
because there are tools to work with.
And so it's as much as, if you look at the statistics, and I'm sure that this is not properly, because if you want to look at the actual report, like some of the figures, you understand that it's underreported. But this is also a call for us to address, the pressing issues that cuts across every other sector of the country, because we see it's creeping into every, sector of the country.
So is Messi your friend? They said DSS has arrested him. The NLC president. He's your friend now. They say protest, strike. DSS arrest.
Are you insinuating that I should be arrested?
No, I'm not insinuating that. I'm just saying that, we have learned that he was arrested this morning. He was on his way to the United Kingdom to begin a trade union congress conference in London. And they confirmed this via the official handle that said that his arrest. This is an assault on the Nigerian on Nigerian workers. It says the president of the NLC was arrested and abducted by the men of DSS and at the Nnamdi Azikiwe airport in Abuja this morning. So I don't know. Let's see how this continues to go. I've always said that I don't know how the drama in my head is actually very, very interesting. So let me not bring in my conspiracy theory. But what's your thoughts, though?
Well, I mean, same as you. I haven't followed the story. I think I've seen it, on the surface and all of that. And it was literally within the period I was in the hospital. But then again, there's a lot of things I need to understand.
We will
why
understand
he's
it
been,
later.
He's been arrested, right? Because it doesn't add up. I mean, what exactly is he seeing here? What is the DSS? What do they have?
What do they
on
know
him?
that we do not know?
Exactly. Can they tell us?
So they'll tell us what they
because
know.
if you begin to look at some of the conversation, it's as though we've also seen situations where those who were protesting have been arrested and they have been charged for crime against the state,
Absolutely,
treason, and all of that. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really add up. Really, what exactly is his crime? What does the DSS have on him? It's the question that's begging for lots of answers.
So on a very light note, I've always said it that Nigerians, we need to learn how to give flowers to the people that deserve flowers. Our para-Olympians always deliver. They always deliver medals. And Nigeria wins 7 medals at Paralympics game. So I just wanted to celebrate them. I wanted to say congratulations. I have heard different governments promises upon promises that they never fulfill. They go and do all these media promises, promise to give them a house, give them this, give them that. These guys have always proven that, they are actually very committed to winning things and coming, but I don't know what is going on, why we do not celebrate them enough. So I thought to mention this. So I don't know if we have Ufoma now. In partnership, of course, as we always do every Monday, in partnership with Enough is Enough, we would have a quick chat with Ufoma, the Senior Program Associate for Enough is Enough, to discuss the hashtag My Local Government area, bringing governance closer to the people. All right, Ufoma, are you there? Thank you. Oh, wow. Hi, Ufoma, how are you? Oh, wow, we're having issues. Okay, you know what? We'll go on a break. Hopefully, we'll be able to get to Ufoma much later. Let's go on a break. We'll bring in our guest and we'll also have the conversation for today. Stay with us. What happened?
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges.
With the growing youth population and very little engagement.
That is a ticking time bomb.
We're blessed people with a diverse culture who have a lot to say.
And yes, we are talking.
It is important we drive conversations that informs, inspires, and influences thoughts and actions.
If we say there is beauty in diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture.
We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation.
As we are the hope for the future.
Yesterday's conversation shaped today.
What are you saying to shape your tomorrow?
We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Are you saying that they are contributing to the problem of overpricing within the Nigerian environment or in the industry at large?
I'll come this way, that a lot of these challenges being experienced also, we can't take out the place of the agents away from it. Because the higher the price, the higher their commission. In some cases, there are landlords that have said, oh, this house, I'm taking 5 million naira per annum from it, for instance. And the agent is saying,
I can get it for 7
I can get
million
it
for
for 7. It's now, your friends are taking, all around, your neighbors are taking 10 million, 8 million. And the landlord say, oh, anyway, if you can get me just 5 million, I am okay. If you get anything other than that, it's yours. So some seem to mark it up. And if the regulations we have, if we actually enforce it, then those can be caught. Now, we won't take out the fact that these things happen, and some of them may be as a result of probably title. Title makes this pricing to go up. Like you see a place where he has probably a certificate of occupancy, and I mean, whether individual or global certificate of occupancy that covers an entire state. And the next one doesn't have. I mean, so to that extent, so
because
it commands value.
Property.
It's safer.
What are the things that would make Nigeria an easy place to do business in?
I think the first place for me where I would start is actually brand Nigeria. There's something you said about made in Nigeria products. I remember many years ago when the sort of Buy Nigerian movement started, right? It didn't happen overnight, but there was a conscientious effort, right, to get people to think Buy Nigeria. But I don't think it transcended beyond maybe the fashion industry, that sort of, it was only in certain sectors where Buy Nigerian actually, was able to take root. But today, you don't have confidence that you want to go and buy a Nigeria-made car. I remember at one point when the ride-hailing companies, I don't know which one of them, there was a whole flood of those innocent, small cars. Yes. You don't see any of them on the road anymore. So somebody asked the question around durability. We all know what our roads are like. We all know what drivers on the roads are like. And people ask themselves, what is the longevity of these vehicles, right? You see really, really old, foreign brands still on the road, still moving. But these particular sets of cars, at one point, you couldn't turn to your left, to your right without seeing them. They were white, so you couldn't miss them. Today, I can't remember the last time I saw one of those cars on the road. And these things stick in people's minds, right, when people see these things. So the concept for me of what is the Nigerian brand, because that alone is powerful enough in the mind of the consumer.
All right, thanks for staying with us. I believe we have Ufoma now with us. Apologies, Ufoma. Sometimes technology. Are you there?
Hi, good evening. Yes, I am.
Okay, so tell us now, Ufoma, what's this hashtag My Local Government? What is it? What is it about? What do we need to know tonight?
Really, thank you. Good evening, everyone. The My LGA project really is one of our projects in-house under the Office of Citizen Programmatic area, where we're trying to bring local governance closer to people. The goal of the project is for Nigerian citizens to take ownership of their local government and partner with their local government authorities for development at that level. Awesome. Especially now that the conversation around local government is...
Go ahead.
Okay. Especially now that the conversation around local government is hot topic in the country, it's very important that citizens are aware of the roles and the responsibilities of local government. And so what we have done in the past 6 to 8 months is to kick off my local government in 6 states in Nigeria. So we in Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Ondo, Yobe, and Nasarawa state. And then within these states, we're working in select local government across the Senatorial district to establish what we have called the Office of the Citizen Help Desk. Really what this seeks to do is to provide a one-stop shop for citizens to engage with with their local government officials. So ask questions, make contribution as you want. Organize town hall meetings or stakeholder meetings within your local government so that you can begin to have these needed conversations at that level as well.
Awesome. Okay, I'll just quickly go, because before you come in, Messi, I want to quickly ask Ufoma, how conscious are people when it comes to the local government? What's the literacy level about what the roles of the local government is supposed to do for them?
Sorry, would you take that again?
What's the consciousness in terms of literacy level for people about what the responsibilities of the local government is to them? How conscious are they? What's their literacy level like?
Honestly, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say that if it's at best, it's like a good 4.
Wow.
Which is not good because if you look at the roles and responsibility of local government, things like primary health care, right? Those things fall under the purview of local government. When you have like potholes on your road, on
Oh wow. Did we lose Ufoma?
clogged gutters, right? And these are the things that actually affect our day-to-day as citizens. But then we don't know that local government is responsible for it. And so we are trying to, in our bid to hold government accountable, we're not holding the right people accountable. And then over time, local government will say it's because of funding issues, right? But we're seeing that is being addressed as we go.
Awesome.
All right, so quick one. Let's look at, a stance in 2012 in Liberia where the government, as a measure of trying to bring government or governance and services closer to the people, there was a strategy to decentralize, and as such, the established county service centers. Do you think that we need to adopt that approach? Yes, we already know that we have, the health care centers around, but are there really enough? And so do you think that, Nigeria can actually adopt this initiative or this, strategy?
Well, I think that we already have the local government. I think that my suggestion to that would be to empower the local government to actually do their work. Right?
Awesome.
As opposed to, except if I'm not getting your question right, but I think that these things, we already have the structure.
So if you...
The problem is that over the years...
So, if we look at what happened in 2012, for the want of time, it was more like you had like a one-stop shop center. I already mentioned the fact that, yes, we have the primary health care, but if you look around the, 774 local government areas that we have, I'm not sure that we have enough healthcare centers. So you still have cases where people have to travel quite a distance, to access some of these, facilities and what have you. Some people have to literally leave their villages to go to the states or the federal, to access medical care. So the question is, should we, literally a one-stop shop as it was replicated in 2012 in Liberia, take that same action where we have like counties, around, everything is just within your locality. You don't have to literally travel that far because we don't seem to have all of that.
Okay, so I would say yes because I would say yes. That might be a good idea to kind of see how we can contextualize that to the Nigerian context. However, local governments actually have what we call LCDs, right? So in a local government you can have like 4 LCDs. And those are the things, that is supposed to also feed into what you're speaking to. So like I said, I think that we have these existing structures, but we haven't just
absolutely,
we haven't just utilized them properly.
Maximized them
is what
yeah. Thank you so much, Ufoma. I'm gonna say that we'll keep on having this conversation because again, let's be reminded that they only just got this autonomy. So hopefully we'll start to see some of these things being implemented. But thank you so much, Ufoma, for your time. All right, so tonight we will be discussing good governance, and we're asking what the role of civil servants are. And as we dive into the heart of effective governance, we'll explore how civil servants are pivotal in shaping transparent, accountable, and efficient administrations, from managing public resources to implementing vital policies. These unsung heroes ensure that government functions smoothly. So tonight we'll hear from our very expert in the building who will share her real-world examples, such as successful local government initiatives and innovative public services that enhance community well-being, and of course, and a lot more, right? How soft skills, all those vital things are important, when you want to weave a structured and a very, very well-detailed civil service, right? So joining us to uncover this critical role of civil servants is none other than Precious Ajonu. How do I pronounce your Benin name? Imuwahen.
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 Yes.
Yes, Imuwahen. Thank you so much. So she is the Director General of the John Odige Oyego Public Service Academy in Edo State. my state. And she earned a distinction in management, innovation, and change from the University of Aberdeen in Scotland, United Kingdom. She received her bachelor's degree in economics at Madonna University, Okija in Nigeria. She's also a mentor to girls and young people through her social initiative platform. So thank you again for joining us. Such a pleasure to have you. Finally, you're here.
Yes.
Now we have you.
Yes.
So Precious. I mean, so when we had that conversation, I was thinking, what would be a great conversation to have with someone like a Precious that would help to expand the minds of people when it comes to the very overlooked sector. You know, when they talk good governance, they shout. They talk. You know, there's this saying, they say, soldier go, soldier come, barrack.
Absolutely.
The barrack now be the civil servant.
Absolutely.
Do you understand? And we kind of overlook them. We don't pay attention to them.
True.
And we are wondering that things are not working, things are stagnant.
Yes.
The processes, there's no structures, there are no systems, blah, blah, blah. They have a very strong system. They have a very strong structure. Whether it's the right thing they're doing or the wrong thing, that is, you know, debatable. So, I mean, just tell us your overview. When you look at the Nigerian civil service structure, how well are we doing?
I think historically, like you rightly said, we have a good service. I'm the first person to say that. As someone who came from outside and moved into government to run a civil service institution, I made a lot of assumptions and I found out that it was wrong. So, for example, I even assumed that they don't do anything until I'm clocking over 12 hours every day and I'm like, there's so much work in government, what's going on? I thought it was just going to be cruise. No. But however, I think maybe falling into military, etc., that institution, we used to have a time in this country where we had such a thing called super permanent secretaries. The best Nigerians, the finest minds went to work for the service in my father's time. So if you were brilliant, you were heading to the civil service. It was the other people that were looking for private sector job. Fast forward to our time, you see who goes, is the reverse. And we are paying, society is paying for that reverse. We're paying for it. You know, a man I admire deeply likes to say that the civil and public service is the engine of government. So if you have a car and the engine is not working, where do you go from there? But you see, we ignore them and we pay for it. So the civil servant just looks at you. You know, we ignore them. You know, you see them, oh, this civil servant, what does he know? But he's the one signing things. He's the one sitting down formulating policies that would affect all of us. And those are the people that we overlook. It's too strong an institution. If society must work, you must fix the institution, which is the civil service.
Awesome, awesome. And that's the thing you and the governor, His Excellency Obaseki, you know, try to do in Edo State. How well is that going in terms of the structure, right? I hear you, when you entered, you saw something different. But how receptive are civil servants, you know, to, you know, would I call it a little bit of upgrade, mind upgrade and all of that? How receptive are they to it?
I think one of the things that worked for us, and really thanks to His Excellency Governor Obaseki, is the approach that we took. So the way we could have done it was I could have said I had a distinction from Aberdeen, I'm so intelligent, I've come all the way from Lagos, and then you just come and shove it down their throats. But that's not what we did. When we wanted to build JUPSA, one of the first things that we did was to say, who are the people currently running training in the service? I had to go as far as finding the 1970 extracts that set up the staff training center, because I believe strongly in historicals. If you don't know why something failed, then what are you building? We're not reinventing the wheel. In the time of Ogbemudia, there was a staff training center that was reputed to be one of the best in the entire country. People used to come to Edo to learn at our training center. So something happened, and I needed to know what that thing was so that JUPSA, you know, the institution that we're building, does not suffer the same fate. That was the first thing. So we did all that research, and then we brought them. I still remember the first meeting with those civil servants. They were looking at me. They didn't trust. You know, what are you here for? Why are you calling us? Number one, that approach was different, because what typically will happen is a consultant comes, I have superior knowledge.
And they just dump it on them.
And if you know Edo people, there's nothing that we hate more than you telling me that you know. So we'll just wait for you. So the fact that we called and we're engaging them, first time they didn't trust. By the second time, everything, I was running it by them. You know, this is our strategy. This is how we're thinking about it. This is what we want to do. And they gave good advice. One of the courses, you know, I was formulating with the consultants was managing up. And civil servants raised up their hand and said, please, in the private sector, you can do that. You can't do that. You manage up who? You want to manage up. Who are you managing? I forget to manage the go. So we had to change the terminology whilst retaining the content. So that collaboration, I think, is, many people don't know that we're just less than 2 years old. People think we've been there since the first term of the governor, but it was because we worked with the service. And I think that that's important. I think that's important. We brought their ideas to the table. They helped us fine-tune our strategy, and then we launched. So what we ended up having was a change coalition. People owned the project. Some of the people in that coalition have gone on to become permanent secretaries.
Wow.
So you can imagine the level of influence and how our tentacles are spread everywhere. So I think, and then the sincerity of purpose. So like I like to say, Nigerians are aspirational beings. I think that's something that we don't understand about ourselves. We see the negative side, but ask what's driving it. Why does a Nigerian want to drive a Benz? Why do we want to talk in a foreign accent? You know, why do we want to dress a certain way? It's because we're aspirational people. We want to matter. We like that. So when you understand the fundamentals of what's driving it, then you know that they are willing. So when people ask me, were they receptive? The simple answer is yes, because we presented it as something that was needed. And once you're able to get people to understand why you're doing something, you reduce resistance. You don't
all
eliminate
those barrier
it,
to entry,
but you reduce.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
you reduce it. Thank you so much for that. Go ahead, Messi.
All right, so I like the fact that you talked about history, and if you remember vividly, since independence, there's been several attempts to restructure the civil service, and that has been in terms of, you know, salaries, costs, and structure. But you still have some school of thought who say that that's, as much as that's very important, we're still neglecting the fact that we have badly behaved, badly behaved people in the civil service. We're not saying that it doesn't cut across every other sector, but it looks as though it has become a norm. A lot of attitude and, you know, behaviors have been tolerated. And it looks as though the civil service is that ground where you dump those kind of people and people will make bad decisions. So I'm just wondering, how come we've not really made any attempt, you know, beyond structuring of the structure, talking about cost and all of that, to other issues that also translate to the delivery of service for the government?
Thank you. I think one of the things that we must look at is the Oronsaye reports, right? We had a very brilliant, head of service who did a lot of work around restructuring. There's so many issues in the service. I'll give you an example. When I joined and I learned the salaries that they earn, coming from the private sector, in fact, I never, even as an intern, I didn't earn what some of them were earning. And I mean, think about it. And then you call this person to sign a ₦1 billion contract on a 100,000 salary. It's going to take a level of spirituality, and I'm talking, the spiritual master kind.
There's no spirituality in that one.
I'm trying to be politically correct. For you to look at those figures and say, you know what, I'm not going to pinch from it. So we had to take in Edo, for example, take a holistic approach to some of these things. For the governor, it was like, you need to increase salary. That's why we were the first, not one of, we were the first people to do minimum wage at 70,000 naira, because it doesn't work. I want you to perform, I want you to outperform, but I'm not going to pay you. That's one. And then again, you now need to look at the recruitment process. How do you come in? I'm always happy to share how I got into government. I was headhunted. I didn't have to know the governor. And that's what needs to happen. And that's why I'm very passionate about my job. When people say, oh, you're so passionate, it's not government work, it's because I was headhunted. Perhaps if I was entitled and I came in through some benefactor, it would not be the same kind of passion that I'll be exhibiting. So we need to fix that. You can't say, oh, because you are, you go to your village, you just gather people and they say, oh, there are slots, and you bring them into the service and you want them to be able to operate, AI, and they don't know that stuff. So I think also, there's also the part of making difficult decisions. Now that we have some of them in the service, what do we do? Who is going to have the courage to say, okay, we might need to let some of these people go? Those are very difficult. And those conversations have political implications.
Of course.
So you come and they say, we live in a very interesting country where they say, well, maybe it's people from a particular side that they are victimizing and all of that. So we need to all decide. And I think it's not just the service, the collective as Nigerians, what kind of country do we want to live in? And then work our way back. The civil service will drive the kind of country we want to live in.
All right. Awesome. You know what?
Let's just go on a break.
Yes. When we come back, you'll continue.
All right, no worries.
Okay. All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, if you just tuned in, we're having a conversation around good governance, and we're asking what the role of the civil servants are. And of course, we still have our guests with us, Precious Ojonu. So please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. Our phone lines are now open. The numbers to call are 07025 007749 or 07014242420. Do you believe that we can clean up the civil service? I mean, if you want to join in the conversation, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Go ahead.
All right. So there's a recent incident that happened that I'm sure that you might be in the know of, the David Umahi's case, the face-off with, the workers. Now, that incident, I did like to share your thoughts. Are we dealing with a system, because according to reports, he had ordered that the gates be locked at 9:30, and usually you're supposed to have like 9 o'clock as, signing time. So it brings a question, whose duty is it, right? Is the minister not aware? Should that be the function of the minister or the permanent secretary? That's the one question. And secondly, we also had the reports that this civil servants, went in, locked the minister in, turned off the light, they protested, and they came out and they spoke rudely and all of that. So these are some of the questions. So how do how do we describe this kind of a situation? I mean, being that you are in the system and you're doing the work that you're doing.
As someone who studied change management, I'm very wary when people want change to happen like that. Doesn't work. So you don't come to a system, and I'm going to tell you that both sides are right and wrong. That's what I'm going to say. I rarely do absolutes, so you won't get a yes or no from me. I rarely do absolutes because they are really useful. The answer is usually in the middle. So you've been coming, sometimes you don't even come to work. I remember when I started as DG Jupsa, and somebody told me 12 noon he was going home, and I felt affronted. You can't do that here. And he said to me, really, what's happening? Where's the work? Because for some of them, there's even nothing to do in the first place. Think about it. If you just hired somebody because they are from your local government or whatever, and you didn't think about a role, in the private sector, you have a vacancy, right? But this one, they put me in position. I just bring all my brothers. Then it means that for some of them, there's no work. And they've not had this work for so many years. Like the man who retired from my front desk told me, very emotional. The last 6 months he worked with me is the most he's worked in all his 30 years career. He'd never done anything, really. And he said it to me, And then you bring that kind of person, and that's the person wanting to leave at 12. As a leader who understands change management, I must take a root cause analysis approach, not sensationalism, because you want to understand where is this person coming from and then what it is that we're doing. Am I going to say that the civil servants were right to have done what they did? No. Absolutely not. However, I'm saying that if from the beginning, from the root cause, you've brought me in a certain way, you've not trained me all through the years, I think a certain way, and you just magically think I'm just going to change just because, society, it doesn't work. So if we are serious about changing the service, we must take the kind of approach that we've done in Edo, which is we must retool and reskill them. We're training our people how to use computers. We've gone paperless. We didn't say, oh, we've gone paperless, we're now using computers. Everybody just, no, they can't use it. And if I start to punish you for not being able to do what you are not trained to do, then it's faulty logic. So for us is to say we must create an institution that upskills these people to the results, the kind of workforce that it is that we want. If you're not training me, then I feel like you don't have a moral right to ask me to do what I've not been equipped to do. It just doesn't work.
No, but does that, I mean, I'm also trying to understand, does that also work in the case of, showing up punctuality and the discipline, as it were? And I was also asking as to whose responsibility is it in that case? Should it be the minister that should be enforcing
but somebody wants to show that he's working. Messi, why are you acting like
No, I want to understand, how I mean, so those who are actually watching, we can understand the workings of the civil service.
So there's
the hierarchy and the structure.
So there's a culture thing. And, you can't talk, you have to situate change within the spectrum of culture, right? If I have been doing X continuously without anybody bothering me, I don't know what communication happened before that time. Honestly, you can look at it and frown. It's almost like I traveled with my kids recently and they saw a meal and they're like, hey, I'm not going to eat that. And I said, that's not culturally appropriate. For somebody else, that's the best meal that they've had. That you don't like it, I mean, what you know is not all that there is to know. If I have been coming to work at 10 o'clock every single day, That's all I know, right? And then you come and you say you want to change it, and I have to show up at 8 o'clock. I don't know if communication happens, so I'm working with very limited information for me to be able to say this person was right or wrong. And I tend not to just follow what the media says. I have a thinking mind. So the story is, civil servants just decided to do X, and the minister did X, right? But I don't know the nuances. So it's very hard for me to say, to comment. Yeah.
So I was just going to ask that. So, because, when I hear you talk, first of all, congratulations on the launch of your book, The Hero Inside.
Yay.
I would love to know what informed, because I started reading this book, but I've not gone far. But I see that there is a deliberate attempt to start to, rejig the minds of people with this piece of work. First of all, why do you think mind upgrade is important? Because again, these are the things that we talk about, that we just look at and just gloss over. But if you change the mind of a person, you change the life of that person. Everything changes. And I feel like Nigeria, we have a mindset problem. I think so. Yes. What is deeply rooted in the way we think. Because if we start to think differently, our actions will definitely just kind of like go in the direction of our thinking. So why is mind upgrade important, and how do you see that impacting the bigger picture for a better Nigeria?
So, Uwa, you just hit it. I'm one of these people. People think Nigeria's problem is complex. I don't think so. I think it's just a faulty thinking. It's that simple. I feel like if you were to remove all of us and take us to some island somewhere and bring thinkers here, in another 10 years, we'll be fighting. We'll say that this is our supreme land, we own it, and we want to come back. So there's nothing wrong with the land in that sense. But there's everything wrong with the lack of critical thinking. Short-term thinking, we're rent seekers. Immediately there's a fear queue. You find people, the jerry cans everywhere. You want to cheat somebody else, and the cheating just goes all the way down. It's almost like the corruption is systemic. You find a Nigerian point at maybe a government official and say that's the person who is doing the wrong thing, but give that person power. Look at it at the gates sometimes. You just tell them, don't let people in. Some people take it and they go to town with it. The gate man becomes a lord of his own. So it's a thinking problem. We don't think long term. I visited some city and I was looking at buildings that have lasted over 1,000 years. And for some of them, the people who started to build those cities, they didn't even know what it would become, but they just believed in the power of one. I put one, and then one day becomes something. But we want to eat everything at once. We're not thinking, we're not thinking about global warming. We're not thinking about how we're going to ensure that this country is even there to bleed. Because if we destroy it, then what's there to bleed? There's going to be nothing. This is all we've got. So that thinking, and I share, when Dr. Abba reviewed my book, he said I was vulnerable. And I did that so that people don't look at me and think, oh, Pioneer Director General, she has it all figured out. Every day I choose courage. Anybody that has left home to do something that is audacious, you know that you have to choose courage. Often you don't have all the answers. People say, do it afraid. I do it terrified. So I know that there are things that have worked for me that you can codify, things like discipline. When you mention discipline, especially young people, they don't want to hear it. Just bring it now. When you mention consistency, I know how long, Uwa, you've been doing this. Like, everything I see here started, But people just come and say, and then immediately in 3 months, if they're not exactly where you are, they're frustrated, they're like, oh, I'm so sad about. So I wanted us to take a step back and then go. And then finally, and that's why I titled it, The Hero Inside. We're too external facing. We're so worried about what, Messi is doing in her life, what you're doing. We don't focus on our own growth. Like, there's so much here. I'm not trying to be like somebody else. If I could just meet my truest potential, I am a powerful being beyond measure. I don't need to copy you. Like the entire world, if I do my bit, she does a bit, you do a bit, then there's enough for all of us. And that's the thinking I want us to start to have. And I thought, you know what, instead of complaining all the time and being frustrated, let me put a book out there that at least help people start that journey. That's why I wrote that.
Awesome.
Right. Okay, so I will still, I'll still go back to.
Of course, definitely. We needed to just chip that in because it's important for people to. You know why I say this? Precious and I, we've done a bit of. I say to anybody that cares to listen, if you really want to grow, you must get to that stage in your life where you do a lot of soul searching. You go for like a thorough mind rejigging. A lot of things. So when I talk to people, I don't think me. I think, how does this impact
Yes.
I think, okay, if I'm making money, what do I need that money for?
Exactly.
I'm not buying Ferrari. I'm actually looking out for things that are tangible that would impact lives of many other people. But not many people think in that way. And that's why we have a problem.
Yes.
If I start to think differently and I'm working in an office where a job needs to be supervised,
right.
I'm a civil servant and a job needs to be supervised, right? And my thinking has been upgraded, I would make sure that supervision happens.
Yes.
I will not be part of those people that will go and collect something on the side and overlook what is supposed to be supervised. Yeah. People will not die in the end to say, okay, they died from a building collapse.
Absolutely.
They died from a bad road that was supposed to be fixed.
Absolutely.
You know, recently I saw the governor of Delta State livid. He went on a road. He said, you see it now? You know, he had to take the media there. He was livid. He said, see the road. They paid money. Look at the rubbish the contractor did. That's what I'm saying to you. There is a responsibility of people, right, to do this work. And if everybody start to see beyond, I want it now, beyond self, you understand? You start to see collective. You need to learn how to see collective.
Yes.
If you don't see collective, we can't grow this country. It is impossible. As long as you keep thinking, I need to grab it for myself, I need to be myself, you can never go beyond your nose. And that is why we have a problem. So it is not even about the person that is at the top or whatever.
No.
You just do your part. Because you are given a position. You are there. You're signing checks. You're saying, no. Before I will sign this check, you must give me something. This is what we're saying. This thing you said about money. I'll tell you a quick story. This morning, I needed to get fuel in my car. I got to the fuel station. After queuing for this thing, it was my turn. She had sold the fuel. Everything came up to 47,200 and something. So she punches it on the POS machine, and the next thing I see she added 100 naira to that bill. I said, why? I said, what I can see, or am I seeing wrongly? What I can see. He said, no, she just said one casual thing that is 50 naira for one charge, 50 naira. I said, but you should have mentioned this before doing, and this is the first, and in all honesty, that's the first fuel station I will get to since, and it was a mobile fuel station. I will get to Agidingbe, to be precise, in case the owner of that fuel station is watching. Agidingbe mobile. 100 naira. Now, you know what? 100 naira is insignificant to me, Mercy. But I looked at all the cars that are there. Do you know what it means? So they have built a system. You know, this is somebody that has been given power. You're supposed to just self-fill at the nozzle. You don't decide to. So these are the kinds of thinkers that we have. If that person is given a position that is higher than that, she'll do worse. And it's not in the big things. So that's why I want people to understand. When I wanted to have this conversation around civil service, I wanted also to expand our minds beyond some of these things that we talk about. Because the problem, it is individualistic.
I agree.
And once we start to solve the problem from an individual perspective, then it will permeate into the collective.
Right.
I think so. But let me hear what you wanted to say.
Okay, so I mean, just before, I mean, I couldn't agree. Oh well.
No, I mean,
I couldn't agree less. You have always known where I stand with the issue of governance and the society that we have. We're literally a reflection of, our leaders. So if, like I always say, if we say we have a nepotistic government or nepotistic leaders, then that's who we are. I mean, we're just tribalistic. It's just, we're not just different from the people who are ruling. So it's just one and the same way that we're saying all we're saying. But then again, to the issue of the government or the governor who's making complaints, if we look at the policy circle, you literally understand that, there's implementation, there's monitoring and all of that. So I don't get it. And I'm not going to get it when a governor is complaining about the roads, substandard, the contractors. It is still part of the policy circle that they should monitor and ensure that if you give a certain quotation, that the implementation of this road is done to the quotation that you have presented. Because everything is on paper. When you submit a project as, okay, for instance, I'm going to give you this, I'm giving you yellow, you bring black. is not in consonance or is not in correlation with what you have said. So it's still part of governance. And that's why sometimes when, oh yes, you are coming to say that the people had failed at, giving us a proper road or constructing a proper road. But
So
don't forget that.
Who were the people that were supposed to monitor?
Yes, it is still
And
part of the
probably
circle
didn't
for
do their
them to
job.
monitor. So you monitor that this job is implemented to the standard that it was quoted for. But that can be done because, kickbacks are being gotten. And this brings me back to the question of the issue of corruption, which you already cited. So how do we move away from here? We understand that, we are here to begin to think about generally, let's try and see how, and that's why we're having this conversation, to fix our minds and get it right. Peradventure, anybody falls into the system, they're doing the right thing. Now we're saying that the rot is already there in the system. And some people have said, the civil service is the most corrupt. That we talk about the politicians because they aid and abet them. They show them the loopholes.
They say civil servants. When Messi just comes, she's the new minister. Madam Messi, don't come. Oh, yeah, come. I'll show you how they do.
Okay, but I work in the service, so maybe I should know something. Yeah. And I think at this point maybe I should also say you're not wrong. But now let me put a perspective, because you see, one of the great things that we know how to do in this country is we know what all our problems are. I am very solution driven. It's good to know problems and really postulate, and we can really have so much fun doing that. But the reason I took the job, the first time I was, offered and all of that, I didn't take it immediately. I had to go think if this was something that I wanted to do. And one of the things that we did, I'll share 2 stories. The first time I got into JUPSA, you need to visit my academy. Let me tell you, when you come to the academy, you get a better appreciation of what I'm saying. Because often when a government official is speaking, private sector people are like, this person is just talking, right? But when you come into the academy and then you see what's being done there, then you know it's not fluff at all. Anybody, when some people from Lagos Business School came, they compared us, and I felt very honored. That's what they said, and I'm saying it on air. So that's one. The standard of excellence is not compromised. And one of the things I said, the little things that you mentioned, because we think of big things. There's an MVP thinking. You can't solve the big problems. You can postulate about the big problem, but you won't solve them. We can all decide now that the civil service is trash, is rubbish, but we're not going to die. So how do we, I'm into the solution place. How do we solve them? First day I was made DG, I came in and I said, one of the things that we would be known for would be cleanliness. Ask anybody in Edo. Again, I'm saying this on a... You can send somebody tomorrow to my academy to go and look, and I promise you it's pristine clean. And I called my cleaners, and we sat down, and I said they were stakeholders. You know what the supervisor told me? I was telling them how many times we'll be cleaning. They said, Madam, governor office, now one time we'll be cleaner. Did you hear me? So basically telling me that I'm not the governor of Edo State, am I, by any stretch? So if we clean it one time, who are you to be telling me? That was the first conversation we had. There is something about leadership that we remove from the discourse, and we must not do that. I could have taken 2 approaches. I'm the DG, I can authorize and you do, but I knew that I had to win their hearts and minds. Many Nigerians are like Messi, I'm like you. We don't trust our government, and rightly so, because government has hurt us so many times. Why? I mean, it will be neurosis if you do. But I said to this man that this was going to be my key stakeholder, and then I told him that you're a stakeholder. Nobody had told him that. You're not my cleaner. In other places, maybe, but here you're a stakeholder. You are important. I told the person at the gate, if you are rude at the gate when they're coming into my establishment, there's no performance I'm going to give. Somebody's already going to be upset. So I I take pride. Why I'm on the side of the service sitting here, I've worked with civil servants. Another thing I didn't do, I didn't bring you in. I said I was going to work with civil servants for 2 years. We didn't bring in people from outside. So it's that work you see and you admire, is civil servants doing it. Because if I've gone to bring in external people, they'll say it's because you brought it. Civil servants cannot. So I still argue, I've not been convinced that if you show people a better way, that they cannot act. So I'm not saying that the civil service does not do some of the things that you've mentioned. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that there is a lack of leadership. And now how do we fix it? Number one, we need to, if you notice, I talked about the recruitment process. You cannot, you remember how you got your first job. You apply, you go through a test, they call you. You feel fulfilled when you pass through that process. If I come and say, oh, Messi, come, take a role in XYZ place, it's a different set of feeling. For people who have children, the child who is not taught discipline will disgrace the family. It's just a given, So we must change how we bring people into the service. Number one. We must train and retool, similar to the private sector. I was always going for training. You don't just become. I mean, we met on a training, right? So we must invest in our service. And for me, I am very proud of the work that my governor has done. I can say it anywhere because he could have just focused on roads, on the things that are popular, the things that will give him votes. But what he's doing now is not popular. Do you know?
That's why they feel like it's not measurable. It is only in time. But I will quickly, because we have 1 minute left. What is a succession plan for you? Because this is what I see all the time. Great initiative, doing exceptionally well. The person that championed it, the visionary behind that thing, leaves and everything just crumbles. What's your succession plan?
First one is my book.
Okay.
I have it out there. I want more people to think critically. It's why I wrote. That's number one. But there is also, we are set up by law, so we've institutionalized in that sense, passed through the House of Assembly. And about the third one, which is the most important, laws can be repealed. Another governor can come, sit down and say, you know what, I'm not interested. But I think that Nigerians at some point need to wake up. If something gives me value, you know, even as civil servants, you know, as Nigerians, we think that is everything that has been eroded. It's not. I like history. We don't have all the time, and I can give you so many examples. There are things that people have not been able to touch in this very country because we decided, whether willingly or no, and I have examples, maybe I'll share it off camera, of things that we have decided and government had to act. So the people still have power. We've learned hopelessness, though, sadly, but we still have power to decide that, you know, this is the trajectory in which we want to go. We are not all powerless. We're powerful beyond belief.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. What a fantastic way. We're not all powerless. We're powerful beyond belief. What a fantastic way. Precious, we have to bring you back, Sha. Whenever you are in Lagos, please feel free to make us home.
I'll be glad.
It's been an amazing conversation, and I cannot wait to go and, you know, finish this book, because there's just too many things that I believe that can help. And for those people, look out for Precious. Go to our destiny and go and change your mindset. When you change your thinking, your life will change. Mercy. Thank you for doing this.
It's all right.
All right, so before we go, ensure you follow us across all our social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, please. And we didn't take our quote for today. The civil servant has the responsibility to act as a bridge between government and the people. Honestly speaking, we need to pay more attention to them. And great work again.
Thank you.
Precious, and also, of course, congratulations to your boss, you know, the governor of Edo State. I just hope this particular one, you know, they just, no matter who is coming, just please don't touch it. It will help us in the long run. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m.
Hey guys, it's Oluchi for Raise Breakfast. Thanks for always tuning in. Our research has shown that you're probably not subscribed to our channel. What are you waiting for? Make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you never miss out on our latest content and stay in the loop with all things Ways. If the channel grows, it means more great content for you guys. So hit that subscribe button now.